I'm a freelance reporter, as Jon said, in Johannesburg. And which means that I write for, instead of just one publication, a bunch of different publications, and I kind of sell my stories by the story.
It's not every day that an international journalist visits your school. So when reporter Stephanie Haynes stops by this high school classroom in suburban St. Louis, Missouri, the juniors and seniors here know to mind their P's and Q's and spend extra time preparing for their guest.
We had done a lot of research online and from reading like the Smithsonian stuff, so like going into the lesson today, I'd already familiarized myself with like the stuff going on in Mozambique.
Stephanie Haynes is the author of an article about Mozambique that appears in Smithsonian Magazine's May 2007 issue. In particular, she writes about the restoration of a national park there called Gorongosa.
We heard that there was this park that was destroyed by the war. It was now being restored by this American philanthropist, and so we decided to just go up and see what was going on.
What was and is going on is the massive restoration of Gorongosa National Park, led by American businessman Greg Carr. The park was decimated and herds of animals were slaughtered during Mozambique's 17-year civil war. Carr has pledged $40 million over 30 years to the park restoration project. He's betting that revitalizing the once vibrant 1,500 square mile terrain is just the boost Mozambique needs to kickstart ecotourism there and create a healthier, more fulfilling living standard.
By focusing on this, we were able to get add a lot of these issues, these very complex issues about American aid in Africa, and looking at different questions of imposing values on other people, whether that's good, whether that's what you're doing, whether you're just doing something that's an absolute good, looking at environmental restoration.
What Haynes and her colleagues consider a substantial international news story also provides abundant teaching and learning opportunities in classrooms across America.
It's going to help you teach geography, simply place geography. Well, where is that on the map? And then that brings the kids in. And so maybe in itself, you're thinking, how could that be so important to an 11-year-old? But in the global picture, it's very important for them. Plus, I think it makes them aware, like teachers were saying in our conversation, of what is happening in the world. And a lot of times we don't give kids enough credit that they're interested in that. And I think they really are. And this is our way to help them see these issues that are out there.
These St. Louis area middle and high school teachers are discussing how to teach the lessons of Gorongosa in American classrooms. They are joined in that discussion by Jon Sawyer and Nathalie Applewhite. Sawyer is executive director of the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting. Applewhite is the center's associate director. Together, they work to accomplish Pulitzer Center's mission of increasing the volume and quality of underreported international news, like Stephanie Haynes' Gorongosa story.
Many of these same kids, these young students who are juniors and seniors in high school, 17, 18 years old, their peers are going off to fight in the wars that we're waging around the world. There are lots of ways that people will become engaged, and I think that our view, our hope, and the reason that we're optimistic and confident about what we're doing is that we think that actually there is a high degree of interest in what we have done.
Hoping to engage the public, especially young people, in international news, Pulitzer Center is partnering with St. Louis public television station KETC and several other media and educational institutions to form the Global Gateway. Gorongosa is Global Gateway's pilot project.
My hope is that through using this with all of my classes, and there are a lot of ways that it can be used, and that the kids are going to become excited about what's happening in the rest of the world.
Kristen Collins' class hosted Stephanie Haynes and the Pulitzer Center. Later, she exchanged ideas with her colleagues about how to apply Gorongosa's lessons across a range of school curricula.
I needed to give them the background on the Civil War, and I was able to talk about, the Cold War connections, because when I teach about like genocide and a lot of the human rights violations of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even in the 80s, I make that connection with the Cold War. I did have to teach them some history about this specific project, and then, like I said, we did the web quest to expose them to the Pulitzer Center.
A possible assignment might be actually asking the students to write an essay about how this is connected. What connections do they see to their own lives? And we would love to actually host something like that. If students, wrote these articles and maybe we would have, the Pulitzer pick for each classroom, but we would host all of them. I mean, we'd be really more than happy. We have tons of space on the website. And we could put those up there so that underneath the project, you know, there could be a link to student essays on the global local connection or something like that.
The Pulitzer website features videos and blogs that allow students to connect with journalists. There's also a Global Gateway forum that lets teachers exchange ideas with one another. Liz Morrison posted a web quest on the site.
Well, I guess there's different ways you can approach it. You can either approach it from, I found this great website. Now, how can I make this a lesson plan? Or there's the other way to go about it is that I need to teach this concept, what's out there. And for like the Pulitzer Center website, to me, I didn't know anything about it. So when I saw it, I'm like, how can I make this a lesson plan? And so then the possibility become endless.
I mean, in terms of the need for technology to do this, it's pretty basic. And, you know, with, I think, the website, even if you don't have access to like a major computer lab where you can have all the kids go down there, if you have like an LCD projector and a computer, you know, there were times when I would just flash stuff up there and then have the kids read, you know, once again, if we didn't have access to the computer lab or something. And so it was pretty basic.
While it's easy to get caught up in Global Gateway's interactivity, teachers are well advised to remember technology resources are merely a tool. Websites, videos, and blogs are the means. Sharing of ideas and critical thinking are the end.
The students are able just to care about these issues in a way that they might not when it's written from a purely historical perspective. And, you know, education does not have to be boring, and in fact, education, you know, works best when it is fun and the students are enjoying, you know, the journey as well.